The show's writing wasn't an utter dumpster fire and went against all of Star Wars.
So I see we are still talking about the Acolyte, and that it goes against Star Wars or goes against Star Wars canon. Now, mind you, no hate towards the content creator, no disrespect, no nothing. It's hey, his opinion, he's valid to it and whatnot. But yeah, so anywho, now I will admit, was the script and the dialogue of the Acolyte kind of a little bit clunky? Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, what movie and what show occasionally doesn't have clunky dialogue? You know what I mean? Um, but there was a lot of stuff you said in there, and that I think you were wrong about. But let's get into it. Oh, that's how I know you probably didn't watch the show, or you probably weren't paying attention. Because in the show, she didn't accidentally, or on the whim, or yeah, it wasn't an accident that she bled the crystal. And if you actually pay attention, it's actually really cool how in detail they went into the bleeding process. So in order to bleed a kyber crystal, you need, well, first of all, like you said, you got to put your emotions into the bleeding process, right? Which she did. I'll get to that later. But one other thing too is the kyber crystal has to be exposed. You have to be physically touching the kyber crystal. And the one thing the acolyte did was showed, I believe it was Soul's lightsaber that she was holding. It was broken, and the kyber crystal was poking out. And as we saw, the kyber crystal was touching Osha's skin. Now, when it comes to the emotion part, it wasn't no accidental. It wasn't nothing. It was no accidental bleeding that she did. If you pay attention to the show, and I mean that in a very respectful way. But yeah, if you pay attention, if you need to go back and watch it, if you go back about what that mindset she was in. So mind you, at this time, she found out the person who basically raised her, after her mother and the rest of the witch clan were all dead. Her sister was dead. Um, and basically she found out the person that raised her and that took her in after losing the family, the clan that she was a part of, in that witch clan, lied to her about what really happened to the witches. And all this truth starts to come out, and that's a lot of emotions to process. Um, and she felt betrayed. She felt anger. She felt sad. Or I don't know what to say, but she felt all this like dark side emotions, and it was thanks to these emotions she was able to bleed the crystal, because again, she put her emotions into it, whether she realized it or not. But yeah, when it comes to her bleeding the crystal, that wasn't no accidental bleeding. Like she put some emotion. She had emotions in that whole scenario because of what conspired before that. Now, to go off of your thing, you do mention in your video that um, Anakin Skywalker didn't have his lightsaber turn red. His crystal didn't bleed. Well, that is because in the moments you brought up, his crystal was never exposed. Because again, to bleed a kyber crystal, you need to expose it. Don't get me wrong; he had the emotions, he had the anger and whatnot, but he never had the time to take a moment to bleed the crystal. Um, but that crystal was in the lightsaber, and it wasn't exposed like the saber that Osha had was. Hence why the saber didn't turn red. Um, and then the other thing you brought up in your video, which was you talked about how they completely ruined Anakin's character. I don't know if you put the word ruined. Let me play the part. So it's your words, not mine. Now, I've talked about this in previous videos when it comes to the Acolyte and what happened with Osha and May. Again, I'm guessing you might need to rewatch the show because maybe you only watched it the one time. But when you go back and watch it, they explained. So when it comes to the twins, it wasn't just the Force outright made them. It is the in a way, somewhat what happened when not Palpatine, Plagueis and Palpatine tried to manipulate the Force. So the witches tried to use the Force, or in their culture they called it the thread, but they try to use it to create not to create life or to create kids. So those two can have kids, and they try to make one person. They try to make a life, and the Force retaliated. And what ended up happening was they split in two. But it was basically, it wasn't the Force that made the twins. It was the witches trying to pull the Force and bend it to make a person, and the Force ended up retaliating and split that person in two. And it doesn't ruin Anakin's character or how he was made, because Anakin again was conceived by the Force itself, by the Force retaliating. Which now that I think about it, nah, because like he was still the chosen one, and Osha and May, because they were originally supposed to be one person, and then the Force kind of just went, nah, we're not gonna do that. Poof, and just made like just two people. But that's my thing. I don't think they ruined it. I'm probably explaining it wrong, and there are other Star Wars content creators out there who could probably explain it better than me. But let's get to your last point. Oh, one other thing too. So I recommend probably going to Darth Chaco. I think that's how you pronounce it, or Dyad in the Force. They could probably explain the Anakin Force thing with the Acolyte way better than I can. The age-old Mundi with the Sith being extinct for over a millennia. Now, fun fact about that. Now, when it comes to that, I'm pretty sure it wasn't Plagueis around, but he was in hiding, and there were Sith out there, but they kept themselves hidden from the Jedi until the time was revealed. Now, if you look at Chimera, the one, I don't think he would be considered a Sith. Well, I'm just gonna say Sith because red lightsaber. But when you think about it, anybody that's seen Chimera in that show either died, lost their memory, or is with them. The only person that knows of Chimera presence is Vesta, I think her name is, the one with the lightsaber whip, and that's because when she went to go to the one planet to go after Soul, and I believe Osha, she got she felt in the Force the presence of her old Padawan, which is Chimera. But she doesn't know that he has a red lightsaber. She just knows that he's there and he's somewhat involved in this. But nobody has no idea that Chimera's got a red lightsaber, that there's potentially, a dark side Sith user. Because again, either the people that did see a red lightsaber, they all died, a memory got erased, or the with Chimera. So most of the video was just you just having to go back and watch the show and really just take a look at it. Now, don't get me wrong. To say the Acolyte is a dumpster fire or trash, no, absolutely not. I actually enjoyed it. Was there some things they could have done better? Yeah, kind of. I agree. But to call it dumpster fire or trash, it wasn't. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Did you like the Acolyte? Did you not? I'm all ears.